Welcome back to episode 10 of the Road to the UFA series. This is Dylan South, live from Tucson, Arizona. I am recording this on Sunday, May 4th. So, Sunday afternoon last week, I went to the park and I threw with my roommate Walker. We brought Benny the dog over so we could enjoy the nature and the weather. And we got some tosses in. It was windy, so we changed up the direction that we were throwing in so we can practice throwing in different directions of wind. I practiced some lefties, some shorter throws, some longer throws. It was a good week in terms of a lot of my goals. In terms of throwing, I threw a lot. I threw with my roommate. I threw with some students. Last week, I taught a couple of the kids in my chess club that I run after school. I taught them how to play Frisbee, and it was really fun seeing them figuring stuff out and, enjoying the game, and hopefully maybe they stick with it and take it with them. I also got to throw with my fellow captain, Sticky Mitch, not his actual name, but got an opportunity to throw, which you'll see later in the video, yesterday on Saturday. In terms of my nutrition, it was a good week. I ate a lot of protein. I got some good vegetables in. I stayed away from too many sweets and tried to get some vegetables and fruits here and there. And it was a good week in terms of nutrition. In terms of sleep, not my best week. I can tell because Saturday I could sorry, I got distracted by that footage. On Saturday, I slept in for about 10 hours. That's how I know I didn't get good sleep. On Tuesday, as you can see here, I went for a run. You could see that dog that was chasing after me for part of my run. And then after my run, I went and I did some squats. Monday was a rest day. And then Tuesday, as I said, I went for a run and then did some squats afterwards. I did a couple of warm-up sets, always focusing on good technique, good form, slow descent, pause in the stretch, in the deep stretch, and then coming up quickly. After my second warm-up set with a lighter weight, I moved to the actual set. Again, focusing on going down, 5 to 7 seconds, pausing for about 1 second in that deep stretch, and then, taking a big breath, bracing my core, and driving up for the actual squat part of it. After my first set, I rested for about 2 minutes, and then came back at it for my second set. Again, trying to hit that same number I got in the first set. After the second set of squats, I did some partial reps, which I have been in love with lately. You get a really good burn going, great stimulus, great fatigue, and it's pretty time efficient. You do a couple of your regular sets and then you do some partial sets, and that really gets that muscle going in a quick amount of time. So as you can see here, I did some partial sets. Give myself a little critique. I think I should have rested a little bit longer so I could focus on having some better technique and kind of maybe driving my chest forward and looking forward. So I think that's something I'm going to focus on in the future. That was a tip that one of my roommates gave me. Shout out Ben West for some lifting tips. Continuing with my trend of getting some sprints in once a week during my run that you saw earlier. I got 8 sprints in, 1 for every mile. I think I bothered my ankle a little bit doing some of those sprints, so hopefully that starts to feel better pretty soon. On Wednesday, I played in league. I didn't get any footage of that because I was pretty focused on the task at hand. My team won, which is awesome. It was a fun league, and it was fun to win all of our games. And just to play with people who are, pretty competitive and good at Frisbee. And it was a fun league. It was well organized. Had a lot of fun with all the other teams. I thought all the captains did a really good job. making sure their teams are having fun and learning the game. This is some footage that I got on Saturday. Didn't get many opportunities to work out or throw on Thursday or Friday. I think I threw on Thursday with some of my students during lunch. And then on Friday, I didn't do much in terms of Frisbee. And then Saturday, I went out and I threw with a couple different guys who are going to play on Sonoran this upcoming season. All right, one of them being the captain, Sticky Mitch, as I was saying earlier. Focused on a bunch of different throws, lefties. And then a couple more people showed up and we got to play some minis, which you'll see here in a second. Now, to answer the sleep question from last week, why is sleep so important for athletes? Well, as you watch the minis and watch me play really well, keep in mind that I got a lot of sleep the night before. So sleep is super important for a bunch of stuff. One, your short-term memory moves to your long-term memory when you sleep, and this especially is true for your muscle memory. So different skills, gross motor skills and fine motor skills that you learn throughout the day and practice are moved to your long-term memory, and become something that you can do automatically instead of having to think about it. And this process occurs while you sleep. And the more sleep you get, especially the more REM sleep, the easier it is for you to learn stuff, and the quicker you can pick stuff up and move on to new skills, right? Number two, muscle growth and muscle recovery happens during sleep. While you're sleeping, inflammation is reduced, right? Inflammation tells our body to, bring blood flow to the area, and while we sleep, that is reduced, and blood, transfers proteins and other things to our bodies. And so when we're getting sleep, we're building more muscle. Finally, getting enough sleep helps us to better regulate our emotions. We're less likely to go through mood swings, highs and lows, when we get enough sleep. And this will allow us to stay more focused on learning things at practices, as well as to handle the frustrations and successes of playing Frisbee with a cool and calm head, or playing any other sport. There's a reason that athletes will take naps before games. There's a reason that athletes, professional athletes will get 9 hours of sleep every night and then, sleep for an hour and a half and then go play basketball games, because it helps them to play better. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Stephen Curry, these guys are, infamous for their excellent sleep hygiene. And there's also research that shows, statistical research that like players who get above 8 hours of sleep are gonna, score more, are gonna, have a higher plus minus compared to that same player when they get less than 7 hours of sleep, right? Well, now that we know all that, how can we get better sleep? That's a great question that I just heard you ask. So one thing that we can do to get good sleep is to make sure that the room that we're sleeping in is cold and dark, right? Light is what wakes us up, so we can cover up our eyes with the eye cover, or we can, block out the windows to make it really dark. And then the cold temperature of our room helps our bodies to fall asleep quicker, because when you fall asleep, your body actually decreases its temperature by about 2 to 3 degrees. And cooling down your room can help facilitate that process a little bit quicker. Well, that's enough of me rambling on and on about sleep. I guess I'll talk a little bit about some of the work that I've been doing. I'm getting ready for the club season. I'm a captain of Sonoran, and I'm really excited for our season. We got a lot of young players coming to us from the college program this year, and so I'm really excited that we've been able to grow our community in that way, and that we're going to be able to teach these kids a lot of things, and hopefully use some of their youth and athleticism to our advantage. Hopefully soon I'm going to get some footage of some practices, maybe some drills that we do at practices, and maybe some footage of some scrimmages that we do. I recently came into possession of something that's gonna really help me film, and I'm hoping that I can use it to get some good footage of frisbee. Because the angle that it provides, all right, I'll just say it's a drone, so I'm pretty stoked to have a drone that I'm gonna be able to use to film practices, but also it's just gonna give me the ability to watch myself play from a really good angle and see what I'm doing well and what I need to work on. So after playing some frisbee on Saturday, I went home and did a nice big workout. It's kind of been my habit lately is to have one big workout on Saturdays after I play frisbee and throw for a while. And I think it's a good habit to continue. So I started my workout with some deadlifts. I did 2 sets of deadlifts and combined those with a couple of exercises. My roommate Ben here gives me some nice good tips on my deadlift form. He tells me to have my head look forward, which is a good cue to help pop your chest forward when you kind of look forward instead of look at the ground, which helps correct your technique kind of naturally. Sometimes all you need is like one or two small cues, and your technique will sort of really fall into place. After the first set of deadlifts, I did some pull-ups. The footage cut out, unfortunately, there. On my next set of deadlifts, I think I did 6. Again, I think I was doing 6 deadlifts per set. I really like the trap bar deadlift. I think I'm going to continue to do that. I don't really get into the full stretch position, but I do really like that it's just utilizing a lot of different muscles, uh, kind of a whole body lift. And it's also you're producing a lot of power, which I like as well. It's a kind of explosive lift. So on my second set, I do 6, coming down slow, pause, come up. And then I combine that with some ab rollouts. Really like these ab rollouts for a couple reasons. They're just a great ab exercise, but also uh, there's a lot of work. There's a lot of stabilization going on my shoulders, and just kind of felt good. And also, as I was kind of doing the exercise, I thought about how it really mimics the laying out motion. You're sort of, you're putting a lot of pressure and stress on your arms while they're in that position, which is I think going to really help my layouts. It helped me have the strength to lay out and get up quickly. My next set, I started with some shoulder presses. The back and shoulders were sort of a focus of this workout. Did a couple partials at the end. And then I did some calf raises, single leg calf raises with 45 pounds using the new slant board that I got. It's been a goal of mine to do the single leg calf raise with the 45s for a while now, so I'm pretty stoked that I'm finally hitting that goal. And I feel the results. I feel pretty springy whenever I'm jumping. The final workout that I did was some bent over rows. So focusing on that flat neutral back, coming up, and then coming up quickly, going down slowly, pausing that stretch. Eventually, I switched to kind of having my wrists rotated in, sort of like I'm rowing on one of those rowing machines, which I liked. I liked the feeling of that more than kind of angled inwards. And then I finished with some more calf raises, again with the 45s. On Sunday, I went and played basketball with one of my friends. Uh, it was pretty good. It was some good reps, good cross training. I felt really good on the defensive end. Got a lot of stops, a lot of steals, a lot of blocks. Um, my lateral movement felt pretty good. Afterwards, I had some hot ones, chicken garlic, some chicken strips with the garlic, and then I had kind of a spinach, chicken, rice, veggie thing. Yeah, so it was a good week. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and I'll see you guys next week.